Joining us by phone now is Lester Munson, a security expert, senior fellow and vice president international BGR Group. He also worked on Capitol Hill for 26 years on Senate Foreign Relations Committee and was chief of staff for Senator Mark Kirk. So you know, Mr. Munson, security very well and the amazing challenges that they are facing today. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, sure. The events of January 6th, I think, were alarming for anyone who's familiar with the Capitol. I don't think any of us thought that what we saw that day was even possible, particularly given the way security was toughened up around the Capitol building and all the attendant office buildings in the wake of 9/11, when the U.S. taxpayers spent a lot of money making sure our legislative branch was safe and secure. And so to see those events from a couple of weeks ago was really disturbing. And what we're seeing today with the massive security presence is a direct reaction to that.
I wanted to mention, Lester, you have a vast experience when it comes to security, but also your experiences on Capitol Hill. I wanted to ask you, too, what your thoughts are about the kind of healing that really needs to happen on the Hill in order for President Biden to actually get things done as we look forward.
It's a great question, and I think we're seeing it today. And you just mentioned that Senator McConnell is there with the president-elect. I believe Leader McCarthy, the Republican leader from the House, has been spending time with the president-elect this morning. That's terrifically significant, and I take it as very heartening that that shows the Republican leadership on the Hill. Granted, they're in the minority in both the House and the Senate now, but that they're going to be willing to do the things that are necessary to at least show that they're willing to work with the Democrats. That was not really true for the last 4 years at various times, and so it's very encouraging to see that imagery for me today.
But Lester, it will not be a quick fix, will it?
No, and it's going to take some time, and to be perfectly honest, a lot of the responsibility will lie with President-elect Biden and Vice President-elect Harris. They're going to have to show the leadership. It's a little unfair that they have this burden, I suppose, because a lot of this was the residue of their predecessor. But they need to stay above the fray. They need to continue to appeal to all Americans to be the president and vice president for everyone. And I think the more they do that, the more popular they're going to be and the more stuff they'll get done in Congress.
Lester, it's Timon Bradley. Former President Obama writes in his book about a possible terrorist attack. They had credible intelligence at his first inauguration, and he kept a note in his pocket giving the crowds instructions about how to leave. Fortunately, he didn't have to use that. But what does it say to you that we have 25,000 National Guards troops patrolling Washington, D.C.? Obviously, there are always security threats when there are big events like this, but they were taking no chances this time. Obviously, it speaks to how serious this threat was that we would have that number of National Guards troops on patrol in Washington today.
Yeah, I think if you add up the number of troops that are in Washington today, it's something like 3 or 4 times the total number of troops we have in both Iraq and Afghanistan. It's a phenomenal number. I suspect it's a little bit of an overreaction to the events of 2 weeks ago, but I'd rather us overreact than underreact. I think it's important to show that the things that happened on the 6th won't be tolerated going forward. So it's encouraging. It's a little bit alarming. We're all going to have to kind of build that into our expectations for the future, but it's the smart response to what's been happening.
And not only has the events of January 6th happened, but there were also some clear threats on social media that federal authorities were looking into. So it's not as if we're overreacting from just a past event, but there is potentially a threat for today, not just in Washington, D.C., but all across the country.
That's right, and you saw that the Pentagon was going through and taking a look at the background of a lot of the National Guard troops who were called up, and some of them were asked not to participate based on things that they've had in their past. We're kind of in a new era here. You know, we've been in the global war on terror for about 20 years, outwardly focused. It appears that now we're going to be more inwardly focused.
Lester, this is Paul Lisnick. I'm curious, you talked about the additional National Guard troops and, of course, your concerns there. What about the fact that 10 or maybe a dozen of them had to be removed based on, we don't know all the details for all of them, a couple tied to right-wing processes and the other ones not being disclosed. How concerned are you that there are, problems within the group of National Guard?
Well, I think it's a very real thing. We saw that some of the folks who were participating in the riot on the 6th were, in fact, law enforcement officers from somewhere else, a very few of them, and certainly not at all a critique of law enforcement officers generally, but there were some with that background. I think it's important that we take that stuff seriously, that we be seized with the matter, have zero tolerance for this kind of behavior from the people that we have selected to be in positions of trust and security. We have to be able to count on them to do the right thing at all times. So the bar should be very high for our law enforcement officials.
Let's talk a little bit about foreign relations. I know this is something you're so familiar with, Lester. What is it that Joe Biden can do to either repair our reputation overseas or take us in a direction that he sees fit moving forward? And there are plenty of people that claim a lot of damage has been done.
Yeah, and I think there's some truth in that. I think it gets overstated for political reasons that damage has been done. The Trump administration did have some accomplishments, and I think the smart thing for President-elect Biden when he takes office is to hold on to those things that worked. The Trump administration did a good job in the Middle East on the peace process. It was behind these peace agreements between Israel and some of its Sunni Arab neighbors. That work should continue. The Trump administration is a little bit scattershot, but it did a good job of recognizing that the China challenge is less of an opportunity and more of a threat. The Biden administration needs to kind of double down on that and come up with a comprehensive approach to China, the rise of China, which is in some ways anathema to our interests and values. So the smart thing for President Biden to do will be find the things that Trump was doing that worked, keep doing them, change those things that weren't working. It would be helpful to stop insulting our allies ad hominem. And just him showing up, I think, at noon and getting sworn in is going to accomplish a lot of that. He's going to have to keep working on all of those things.
It will certainly send a message. Lester Munson, thank you so much for your thoughts. Please send your father our best, too. We love him from Sports Illustrated. You guys make a great team.
Thank you very much.
You betcha.